You ready?
Rolling.
Okay, thanks. Hello. Welcome to the MeanCharles Meme Time Show. Today we're gonna do the, is it the 4th or the 5th edition? The 5th edition of the Tippmann M4 Carbine. Today we're gonna talk about RAS rail systems. And we're going to talk about cutting your outer and inner barrel and re-tapping it or dyeing it. So let's do that. Here. What we did is on this M4 Carbine, chopped off a good portion of the outer and the inner barrel from this setup. So basically he can run a tracer the same size of his gun without it being like a mile long and him snapping it off through doorways and stuff like that. So if you're gonna do this, commit. I would say don't go halfway and be like, oh no, because you can always order a new $30 outer barrel. The inner barrel, it's up to you. You can just order smaller. You might need to rectify it at the end because, you know, inner barrel, metal shavings, bad idea, but it can be done if you have the right tools. So first of all, let's talk about outer barrel. What you have to do is, if you want to cut both of them together, leave it in, but if you just want to cut the outer barrel, you basically put this in a vise and chop it with a hacksaw. Good rule of thumb is not to go past these marks for the actual gas tube, where the, I guess that aim for the M16 is. Yeah. Don't go past there unless you're heavy duty into your mod, then you can go way past it and get a stubby rail system. So here's the 14mm die. So you can get these on eBay. This is the 0.1 pitch, and that's a 1.0 pitch, not a 1.5 or 2. You got to go to 1.0. Now that you got that figured out, you need to either file this down so the die can fit on it and start basically making grooves, or if you have a lathe it, and if you have a lathe, why are you watching this video? File it down in a vise or something that until you can get the grip on it. Grab a pair of vice grips, grab this die, and just start screwing it down. Sorry, are you caught there? It's caught on my cord. Run that through the aluminum and you'll cut yourself some grooves that you can screw on adapters. Now that that's done, I would get in a file on the outer part or the inner part and basically make sure that that's clean, blow some, you know, compressed air through it and clean it out. Now with the inner barrel, if you're going to cut your inner barrel, same idea, just chop it off because you can always hide the crimes later. On the end here, we had this in a lathe and we basically just rectified it. That's what it's called, but you can do this in a drill press or you can do it in a vise with a drill. Basically get a bigger drill bit and just run the bigger drill bit against this so you have an indentation going in, and get a little fine grit sandpaper with like a barbecue skewer or a ramrod or either a little file, and just make sure you get any metal burrs off the inner barrel. Since it's the end of the inner barrel, it's not as a crazy modification as the other end, but you still want to be pretty precise and clean with this. You don't want any metal shavings going down the inner barrel, because especially with these Mad Bulls, you can scratch the Teflon coating on the inside. Okay, so now that you have that cut and everything, it's pretty simple from there. I will put this in the description down below. Noticed on some flat hop mods, if you saw our other G-hop video, or it's same as a flat hop, it's just an extra addition. In here, you want to shoot at least 2,500 BBs to start feeding it properly. You'll have to put silicone oil down your lower receiver to get to this bucking so that it lubricates the BBs in the first like bunch of shots. Or another way is taking a Dremel and just taking off like a millimeter of material on your bucking after you turned it inside out. Just as a heads up, we noticed that was an issue, and after doing that, it shoots fine. We have it cut, we insert the inner barrel Now what we're going to install on this guy is the Mad Bull SWS rail system. So it's Picatinny rail system. It's a 9.28 inch series. So it's made for you know, putting a stubby loudener or flash hider on it. So basically we'll take up the whole room just to the threads. I know that's pretty popular right now, and that's what we're going to do. So let's go on to installing what we call the barrel nut. The barrel nut comes with it, so if you do want to get a new rail system, you ditch your delta ring usually, and it usually comes with a barrel nut that you can install. Now, when I do screw this down, there is going to be some play, especially wobbling the barrel back and forth. That's what you get. Get some delta or some pipe tube washers, just in case there is play, especially with the Tippmanns. There is quite a bit of play, or you can go to Home Depot and just buy some thicker washers. It doesn't really matter. Performance is not an issue here or anything. It's just to make sure the outer barrel is tight. Hey friends, so after a little bit of muscle grease, get your barrel nut as close to the back of the top receiver as possible. You can always stick your finger in here and kind of like feel the threads, how far you have to go. I suggest adding washers. So we do have these washers and that you can buy online, but the thicker ones are better, especially for the Tippmanns, because there is quite a bit of play. It's going to pop in one of these big guys, and then we can put on the barrel nut backwards, because I do have the washer in. You check that it seats properly, which it did. Insert your half moon washers that come with the Tippmann, and then slip over your barrel nut. And after you hand tighten it, there should be no wobble or play in the outer barrel. And then we screw this on fully, and then go on to the floating rail system. Okay, hey guys, so we're back, and it's time to install this. Woo! It might be snug, so you might need to tap it with a rubber mallet. So, with putting this on, there's a cool trick that I use. Some people might just use some silicone oil, but I like things not to be slippery after a while if you grip on them. This way, I only have so much cord. Is this on previous things? I've used this to, with grips on like blocks and stuff like that, or handlebars on a bike. You use a little bit of soap, dish soap, so it lubricates it to get on your object, and then after it will dry up and like seed the object or whatever you're putting on after it dries. Plus it'll make it smell a lot better. Put the rail system on. If you do have a vise, this is also handy, but we can start to tap on the rail system and it will start to go right on. There we go. We can start to screw onto the barrel nut from the rail system. So Mad Bull kindly supplied us with screws to do this, as they should, because it's part of the package. So on the left, the right, and the bottom is where we're going to screw them in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. Now if you don't have enough space here on your barrel nut, if you didn't screw it far enough backwards, you're going to have to take off some washers and align these holes with this rail system. This is where things get kind of tricky. So you see how they don't align, they're too far forward? We need to bring them back so they fit right in the center. So we have to come back about 2 millimeters on our barrel nut. So try to crank that down 2 more millimeters or switch out a washer.